Just for everybody as an information, we will start in 1 or 2 minutes. From experience shows that most of the participants will be there after 3 or 4 minutes. So be a little patient. In 1 or 2 minutes, we will start. All right, so I would say, Franzi, shall we get started? Yeah, okay, perfect. So before we start, just a little technical remark. We will record the session. So the first part of the session will be recorded, the presentation part, the first 20 minutes, and then afterwards the interactive part with your question, with the Q&A part, will of course not be recorded. So just that you know. But now I would say, let's get started. Very warm welcome to everybody to today's webinar from my side. My name is Markus and I'm one of the co-founders of Beta Coach, and I'm very much looking forward to our exchange in the next 45 minutes. So we will start off, first 20 minutes will be on the topic, on today's topic, developing a high-performance leadership team in an agile transformation. And we will look at that topic in the context of a very specific case at Deutsche Telekom that we supported with our solution throughout the process. And that part will be followed by a Q&A part where you will have enough time, also approximately 20 minutes, to ask all your questions to today's speakers. And all questions that we won't be able to answer, of course, we have enough time afterwards to follow up and then answer them after the webinar. So before we start, I just want to say I'm very happy that today's webinar is with and about Deutsche Telekom, because Deutsche Telekom was basically our first holistic user of our leadership and development solution. And since a few years now, we support their leaders and their teams with their very specific development challenges at hand, and thereby try to help them to be more fulfilled at what they do every day. So I would say enough from my side. Let us get started on the topic. And now I would hand over to my colleague Franzi, who will guide you through the first part of the webinar. Thank you for now.
Thank you very much, Markus. Yeah, that was Markus. I think you forgot to present yourself. He's one of the founders of Beta Coach. So I'm happy to be able to do the webinar together with him today. My name is Franziska. I'm head of partner management at Beta Coach. And one of my responsibilities is organizing these webinars together with selected partners of ours. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers to you and then hand over the microphone to them. So with us today are Markus Fee, who is executive assistant to the tribe lead for HR leadership within Deutsche Telekom. Right? Very long position. And also Carsten Ormann, who is global business executive, transformation advisor, and professional coach and mentor. So we are very happy to have you both with us today, and that you found some time in your busy schedules to share your experiences with us. Before we dive into the topic, Thomas and Carsten, would you like to briefly say a few words about yourself, your role, and maybe how you two came together?
Sure thing. Thanks for the introduction, Franziska. And I just recognized that Markus and myself, we have a pretty similar surname, so totally understandable to flip that around. But yes, my first name is Thomas, not Markus, but all good about that, don't worry. Happy to be here today in the round with you. And who am I? What am I actually doing here? So as Franziska already introduced me, yes, I'm working for Deutsche Telekom. I have a background in business and economics and organizational psychology. And around 2.5 years, I have the pleasure to work for the leading European telecommunication provider, the Deutsche Telekom. I started my journey actually with the company as a trainee. So we have a graduate trainee program for colleagues or young students leaving university. And around 1.5 years ago, I found my final position as an executive assistant to our tribe lead in the Leadership Journey tribe. So when you hear that, let me quickly explain what that actually means and what we are doing within our tribe. So we are a centrally located HR department within the headquarters of Deutsche Telekom in Bonn. We are organized in an agile setup, as the name possibly already indicates a little bit with the tribe. We have a size of around 80 people within our group, and we are taking care of around 1,600 executives within Deutsche Telekom. And that means we are taking care of the complete leadership life cycle, so to say. So from recruiting to payroll management to development offers, including coaching, etc. We are also taking care of diversity aspects and also, not so great topics like offboarding, which are obviously whole part of the journey as well. So that's a couple of sentences about me. Maybe Carsten, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, and a warm welcome also from my side. My name is Carsten Orman, and I'm one of the professional coaches with Better Coach. My personal focus is on holistic leadership transformation. So I have a pretty diverse or holistic background, if you would want to call this holistic as well. So my background is in mechanical engineering, but then I went into sales, business development, and organizational development. I have been a global business executive for many years myself in a company with around 40,000 employees worldwide. Have been a management consultant, have studied sustainable business in Cambridge, and I'm basically now working as Franzi already said, I'm working as a transformation advisor, as a coach, mentor, but I've also got an accreditation to work as a psychotherapist. So there is the psychological aspect there as well. So it's a pretty kind of diverse background, but it actually helps me in my role as a transformation advisor and executive coach and mentor for individual leaders as well as for leadership teams. So in the case of Telekom and Thomas and the team, it's around working with the leadership team basically. Just one personal note. I'm very much interested in the convergence of modern science and old wisdom traditions and how we can basically weave this together and turn this into new tools and methods for leadership, for advanced leadership and personal development. So that's in a nutshell where I'm coming from.
Thank you very much, Thomas and Carsten. Carsten, we actually cannot see you. I don't know if your camera isn't working. Maybe you can quickly check that. It would be nice to see your face. Yeah, we saw it before. I don't know what happened. But anyways, meanwhile, we can start with, now we can see you. Perfect. So to begin with, how can you briefly explain how the starting point of your journey together looked like?
Sure. Maybe I can have a couple of words around that one. So as I've said in the beginning, we are quite a new tribe. So we have gone through a reorganization in the middle of 2020. And I believe some of you might already be experienced with these kind of reorganizational topics. On paper, it looks most of the times very convincing and very easy. If you then experience it in real life, you start to get to know, okay, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to do around change management because you got all these existing team dynamics, you got new team members coming in, you got a new leadership team, and in our specific situation on top, we got also a new tribe lead. So a whole a new, set of leaders concluding in our tribe then. To add a little bit more complexity to the whole topic, we got quite unfortunate because our tribe lead, who was just joining our department, unfortunately had to go out directly after we were just going through this reorganization for 6 months. So we were without, the head of the whole thing, which causes some difficulties because you lose a lot of momentum. When you're starting with this, you have all this energy, okay, new tribe, let's go for it, and quite motivated people around it. But with that being said, and losing this sort of momentum and going into, I would say, a constant crisis mode, because people will just like fed up with covering for each other. If this person is missing, someone else has to take his role on, and if you are taking his role on, then somebody else needs to support you with your original role. So you are always in the situation to keep the spotlights on activities rolling, and you never really had the chance to focus on you as a team, to become one team, to become one tribe. And on top of that, we were in the middle of the Corona pandemic. We are still in it somehow, but you had these difficulties with working in a hybrid setting, which causes some barriers around that as well. So after the return, after we were like with the full team ahead, or complete once again, we were saying, okay, now is the time to really focus a bit more on us as a team, to become a high-performing team. And when I'm saying high-performing team in this context, we are talking specifically about the leadership team in our tribe. So this is, of course, the head of our tribe, but also his around 9 directs in completing the leadership team. So with this idea in mind, we were starting the journey, and we had the plan to not go to a castle somewhere for a weekend and come back with the overall answer and here's our 5-step plan and the solution for everything. No, we were saying we are having a more frequent approach, but not that long. So we are talking about a session which is usually around, I would say, roughly 4 hours or so, in a context of every 6 weeks coming back. So this was the whole idea, and with that in mind, we were approaching Better Coach because, as Markus was saying in the beginning, we are a contracted partner, also very happy with the team around there. So we were contacting the people for help, basically, and this is how the journey started from our side. Maybe Carsten, would you like to add a couple of words on that?
Yeah, I can, at that moment when you made the decision, obviously I wasn't on board. I just came in then later due to the selection process, which we will probably cover in a second. But yeah, I can totally emphasize what you've said. It's a number of high-level complexities which came together, which actually made it particularly interesting to sort of get that team together and get it started in a proper way. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for giving us this insight. What the situation looked like when you decided to start this journey together. But before you found your your expert, maybe you can tell us a bit more, both of you, how the coach selection process looked like. So what criteria were important for you? And maybe you had a chemistry call with Carsten, and describe a bit that process.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Thanks for the question. So basically what you are doing is you are giving the debrief to the colleagues from Better Coaches. I was just doing it to you guys. So you are describing where are the issues, what's the problem, and what you are getting in return, I would say, is a proposal from Better Coach, where they were approaching me then, was like, okay, Thomas, we understand the situation. Here are our, I think it were like 3 proposal of possible coaches which would fit to you. And then you get like a small, small couple of notes and information about who is that actually and what did the person do beforehand and all this kind of stuff. And then you come to the point where you are organizing these, I think it's called chemistry calls, right? So these chemistry calls should help you to understand, does that actually work, what you are trying to do here with the person who is sitting next to you. So totally tremendously important, because as you are seeing it right now, Carsten and myself, we are closely working together for over half a year now. And if you immediately notice, well, nah, this is not a good fit for what reason whatsoever, you should stop it possibly. And this is why it's good to have, to have choices, to talk to different people. Personally, for me speaking, and I hope, Carsten, you felt the same, I felt it was a quite good fit. So when I was talking to Carsten and describing him the whole idea and the situation, he understood it quite well. I was like, okay, yeah, sounds reasonable to me. Let's give it a try, so to speak. And of course, I double checked with my team if this is also in line with them, if this is also a person they can relate to, which was the case. And for us, this was then the starting point in that regard.
Yeah, and probably just from my side, as Thomas has said, I mean, after, so I basically then got informed by the Better Coach that there is a request from Telekom, and I then have the opportunity to say yes or no to that. So I get a brief description, basically what Thomas gave to Better Coach, I then also received, and then I could decide whether I'm interested in such a chemistry call. And we had this chemistry call, and I think, Thomas, you might be glad to know that, yeah, I felt the same. So I think we did come along very well, and and that's how we got started basically, and that was in I think August or September last year.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, then after this selection process, the next step was, okay, meeting each other, getting to know each other, and for you, Carsten, getting to know the team, having a closer look at the situation. So what did you find then, and how did you approach the team, and how did you support them in their situation?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's important to understand that before I basically met the entire team, Thomas and I, but also the tribe lead and I, we had a number of conversations about the underlying or the background situation, obviously. And then we, as Thomas has said, we basically decided that our main focus should be on developing a high-performance tribe. I mean, that's in order to honor the agile kind of setting of a tribe, right? So we have basically looked at various criteria which are related to high-performance tribes or high-performance teams, and these are the things that we are working on continuously along the journey, right? But then what's probably interesting to understand is that next to this high-level agenda of forming a high-performance team, we have chosen an approach to be very practical and pragmatic with business-related topics. So that basically means that most of the preparation was for me to get up to speed with what are the challenges, what are the business challenges, and that to quite a level of detail. I mean, that is probably where my executive background basically helped me, so that I can understand these kind of scenarios reasonably well, and then really to really sort of get into all of that developmental kind of activities, but really tangible, so that the team really worked on practical things rather than just artificial, I mean, out of the box training kind of things. We went into the practical application of things, and then we were woven in the developmental aspects whilst we were working on the practical stuff.
And let me maybe add a word on that as well, Carsten. I think it's important to underline one more time the pragmatic approach, because we are talking about a team of experienced executives mostly. So every one of them was sitting, in a circle for 40 times and have put post-its 40 times somewhere else and had this high-level conversations. But aligning this around, tangible business problems to work on and to have some results afterwards, which you can bring back to your current job, and forming your journey of a high performance team around that one. I think this created a lot of buy-in in the beginning and was very helpful to start with.
And during the whole process, I guess you faced lots of challenges. So maybe you can describe 2 or 3 of those challenges and how you approached them and how you found a solution.
You want to go first, Thomas, or shall I?
You can go first, Carsten. It's okay.
So the way I basically perceive the team is very heterogeneous, right? And I mean this literally, right? This Thomas has said there are 9, now it's 10 direct reports to the tribe lead. And because of the situation that they are in a central HR department, so they're taking care of all of the leaders within the international telecom group, right? And within this team, within this leadership team, you have got different tasks and different responsibilities. So they serve different customers. Some serve actually really the leaders. Some serve the business segments, which are the various sort of business units within the organization. Some are more focused on serving the headquarter, right? So it's literally a pretty diverse kind of set of clients from that point of view. But on top of that, you have a reasonably diverse background of these people, and also with different experiences. Some of them actually have had many years of leadership experience. Some of them are new in the role, right? And then you have got different personalities, obviously, right? And I think there is also a difference between people who have made their career in HR versus people who have had a previous career in the business, right? Because this is a bit of a business of different culture. I think we also have some challenges because of the nationality-based cultures. The tribe lead is not German; he's from the UK. It's British, but all of the direct reports are German. So you have a multitude of different kind of backgrounds and different needs and different expectations. So also in the work that we are doing, right, we find ourselves confronted with a lot of different expectations. So some people actually would want to have free space to just discuss things, right? Others actually get really upset if they bump into free space to discuss things. They would want to produce results, right? So it's really like, how do we balance this? How do we actually make sure that we meet the needs and the expectations of the various people in the team? So not sort of losing anyone whilst we are on the journey, but rather getting them together and forming one team, because that is the main challenge that we are facing.
Yeah, absolutely. Can only underline that, and maybe to highlight 2 topics which you addressed already in your sentences, Carsten. The existing team dynamics. It's fascinating to see that, actually, because you got a team which has partly worked together beforehand, and you can almost identify, smaller groups within this leadership team where, some people like to work together, some people actually don't, and it becomes like, how can you even break through that? How can you make sure that you come out of this silo thinking with your personal body left and right, and get a more broader perspective for each and every one in your team? And secondly, talking about the language barrier, and Carsten, you mentioned the background of our tribe lead from the UK. Yes, it's a cultural shift as well, but you can also experience that everybody, to be fair, everybody can fluently speak English. That's not the issue. But if you sit in the room with the tribe lead and everybody has to speak English, and if the person leaves the room and everybody can switch to German, you can notice that there's also a different dynamic and a different intensity somehow. It's not that people don't feel confident talking English, but sometimes, you are missing this one German word and you are using something similar in English, but it doesn't really bring the message across you want to. And this is also something, to be fair, I was underestimating a little bit, but which is very crucial also in this kind of context.
And did you find any solutions to that? So I guess all the meetings were in English, but you also had one-on-ones, right? Like where Carsten talked to each person in a separate session.
Yeah, I think what we basically do is, let me just answer this in two parts. There is what we do within a session, and there is what we do in preparation or after a session. So in preparation or after sessions, there have been obviously the one-to-ones with Thomas and with the tribe lead, but also occasionally with some sort of pre-formatted interviews or some interactions with the direct reports, with the team members as well. So that can happen sort of outside the sessions. And then when we are in an offsite, we try to actually vary the setup, right? We try to weave in sort of time where they can think on their own. We weave in time where they actually work in very small groups. It could be couples of two, it could be sets of three, and then sort of trying to consolidate this. But we have also got a plenary kind of conversation. So it's all part of that. I mean, there is a whole catalog of methods and approaches that we can obviously use and that we do use in order to facilitate the engagement, in order to facilitate the collaboration and the getting to know each other and building trust. Because I think that for me is the most important first step, to establish trust within the team so that they can start an open conversation with each other, that they are not hiding certain things, right? Because that always gets into the way. And once we have got the trust and an open communication, we then actually can go the next step, which is to create a shared leadership responsibility. So rather than having individuals with their own kind of little silos thinking, as Thomas has said, right, is to really then create a co-ownership of the entire tribe responsibility within all of the tribe members, right? That is the idea, but you really need to break down the silos.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to add something to that, Thomas?
No, I totally underline what Carsten was saying. And to be fair, regarding all the methods and so on and what you can use to do that, this is why we are working together with Better Coach in the end, right? This is why we want to have this expertise of facilitation and to bring us to the point where we want to be. So totally agree with the points Carsten was mentioning.
Okay. So after you went through several months of working together, and maybe you can briefly explain how the situation looks like today. So what you have achieved, what you would still like to achieve, and if there's like any future plans for this journey.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, starting the journey, becoming a high-performing team, I think this can be something which never ends. Then there's always, this one last topic you would want to improve, or where you want to be better and so on. So I think it's important to understand if you are here and the high-performing team is here, you have to understand that you might not get here, but you're trying to get somewhere in here, and in the end, it's a journey, and we are still on that journey, and we are far away from perfect, to be fair. But of course, there are things which have improved over the past. So, for example, you can really see that the team is getting into a more collaborative working mode. And what do I mean by that? In the past, when there have been conflicts within the leadership team, there's always a simple way of solving that. If Carsten and myself don't agree on one topic, so to say, yeah, we can go to the next hierarchy level and, let Markus or whoever decide who is then right, and in which direction we want to go. But using that causes, of course, a lot of escalations continuously, and you are involving, people in topics where they usually don't really get paid for to make the decision, because the team should make the decision for their own. You want to have this shared leadership, and you want to have people who are then also owning their decision and stand courageously behind that. And you can see that the team is getting better with that. So we have less of these escalations. We have more, discussions within and solving problems by their own. So this is something which really improved. And you can also see that team members start to grow more into their role. So as we have described in the beginning, a very diverse set of people who are experienced and people who are quite new to the task they start to own. And of course, these sort of people, need a little bit more guidance in the beginning and have more questions and need more meetings and all this kind of stuff. But you start noticing that also the journey we are on helps them to gain more confidence in the role that they are owning. So these are 2 points which I like to highlight specifically, and maybe Carsten, you have also some which you would like to address.
Yeah, I think there is one additional point which I'd like to focus on for a second, and that is that whilst the mandate originally was to work with a team and to build a high performance team, and as Thomas has said, there is a lot of sort of evolution and development within the team. But I just want to point out to the fact that it also means that the leader, that the tribe lead actually needs to adjust his leadership style in a certain way. So it's not just working with the team as such, but also working with the leader of that team that actually sort of creates a sustainable change in the culture and in the way they work, right? And I think that also means there is a necessity to build trust. So I think initially it was a bit more like, okay, we focus on the team and we try to get the team together. But now I think there is more of a trusted relationship between me and the tribe lead there as well. So he's more open to also accept, or he's inviting me to sort of also coach him, right, personally, and say, okay, where can I work on which of the topics, where can I probably change? So it's not only the team, and that is what I want to emphasize. It's also the combination of how does the leader actually look at it and behave, and how does the team work together? And only if you work on both of those levels, you can really create a high performance team from my point of view.
Maybe Franzi, I jump in, looking a little bit at the time.
Yeah, I was about to say that that we should start with the questions right now. But I think the last point was still very interesting and important. So now if you have any questions, you can post them